up on the YouTubes. This is the patron stream. You know. There we go. It's happening. Hope everybody is well. This is the patron stream where I respond to the patrons, and that's what we do here. So we're going to get right into it. Happy Friday. I hope everybody is having an awesome Friday already. I have a date tonight. So the song of the day, we'll do a song of the day. Why not? Song of the day, I Have a Date by the Vandals. I have a date. So I have a date with my amazing fiance tonight. And I don't even know what we're going to do yet. I got to look and see what's going on in Los Angeles. But I'm excited. It's just two of us having a date. Awesome. I Have a Date by the Vandals. Today's song of the day. But let's go straight to what y'all are asking. So first thought here from the patrons. And some of you sent some articles. We'll be sharing those as well. And by the way, if you're curious, who am I responding to here? I'm responding directly to the patrons who have posted this right on Patreon. Natural Progressive says, I hope I can make it. That's referring to the stream itself. I hope you are here, Natural Progressive. I want to hear your opinion on the lowest percent sea ice refreeze to date. Are you worried? No, Natural Progressive, I'm not. I think everything's fine, and I don't know what we're worried about. No, I'm just kidding. Of course I'm worried. Of course I'm worried that we're not going to be on this planet much longer. Okay, so it's the lowest percent of sea ice refreeze to date. The sea levels are rising. And yeah, of course, this is concerning. Really just want to hear you talk about environmental issues in general. I think I do. What worries you the most? Feedback loops, things like that. So tired of the election. It's kind of a joke. Dog and pony show to keep us entertained. Yeah, I think in a lot of ways that's true. There is no way the powers that be will let someone win that has our best interest in mind. That would not do for the empire. Keep up the great work. I understand those sentiments. I feel you big time, Natural Progressive. What I have to hold out hope for is that we're going to be so loud that they can't cheat us. That's what I got to hold out a little hope for. I got to hold out some hope that the movement behind Bernie will be so loud that they can't ignore us and they have to give us a fair shot. And I think if Bernie gets the nomination, he will crush Trump. And I think then we'd have a president who has a Green New Deal and a pretty solid one. And, you know, looking at it kind of big picture as far as climate change is concerned, we're not going to stop climate change. That's not a thing that's possible. But right now we're behaving like a fast growing cancerous growth. We have the ability to behave like a common cold. And if we start behaving like a common cold, I think we'll be able to adapt better. I think we'll be able to, marginalize the effects a little bit. We're not going to stop it. That's not the way to look at it. But we can do better, and we can do, we can have better policies that help us reinvent the way we utilize energy and the resources that we use. And, eventually we are a walking virus. So eventually our stay on this earth, I think, will end. But I hope it's not for a very, very long time. And I hope we do everything we can to make sure the generation after us and the generation after them is going to have a quality life on this planet. And there's a lot of concerns right now. We are definitely behind schedule based on pretty much all the sciences that's out there. We don't know exactly what the effects will be, but we know that the effect of doing nothing is far too great a risk to take. That's my take on it based on all the science that I've looked at. And I've looked at, adaptation theories to Guy McPherson, to that one guy that works at Penn State. I'm forgetting his name off the top of my head, who does some pretty good work. Gave a weak answer on cable television once, but overall it's pretty solid. So that's my take on it. And, I try to cover environmental issues as often as I can on Get Your News On with Ron. A lot of people tweet me stuff from Extinction Rebellion, from the Sunrise Movement, and that's where I'm at. But I know that we need a big climate movement behind everything for anything positive to happen at the electoral level, regardless of who's in power. So, I do maintain a little bit of optimism when I see people like Greta Thunberg and I see climate action, especially the younger generation, taking part in climate action. So, I got to maintain a little bit of hope. Because otherwise we're doomed, right? Rudy Sandoval, check it out. And then Rudy shares an article. Rudy also says, P.S. Love the Penguins hat. And here's what Rudy shares. This is opinion: how artists and fans stop facial recognition from invading music festivals. So this is a joint piece between Evan Greer and Tom Morello. Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine. Evan Greer, who is an amazing musician as well. Her new album is spectacular. Check it out. Evan Greer, check her out on Bandcamp. And, full disclaimer, Evan Greer is the deputy director at Fight for the Future. Some of you already know this. I have collaborated with Fight for the Future on their facial recognition campaign and on their campaign for net neutrality. We had a great time. But here's what's going on. Imagine showing up at a music festival. We'll read some of the article. Imagine showing up at a music festival or concert and being required to stand in front of a device that scans and analyzes your face. Once your facial features are mapped and stored in a database, a computer algorithm could then decide that you are drunk and should be denied entry, or that you look suspicious. All right, so what's going on? Industry giants like Ticketmaster invested money in companies like Blink Identity, a startup run by ex-defense contractors who helped build the U.S. military's facial recognition system in Afghanistan. So what Fight for the Future did is they started a big online campaign to get artists and organizations basically to not support this, to say we do not support facial recognition at concerts. And different organizations have signed on, different artists have signed on. And this has snowballed into other causes in relation to musicians and music festivals and concert attending. One of the things that we covered yesterday on Get Your News On with Ron was a bunch of artists are boycotting Amazon's festival. So Amazon had this music festival that's going to be happening in early December, and a bunch of artists are boycotting it because of Amazon's relationship with ICE. There's a bunch of other reasons to boycott it too. But, and keep in mind, it's not like this is a random music festival sponsored by a bunch of people and Amazon happens to have a booth there or something like that. Like, then it's like most artists probably wouldn't even know. This is directly an Amazon music festival that Amazon is the sponsor of, Amazon is promoting, and Amazon products are being promoted. So this is a direct relationship. So a lot of artists are saying, no, we won't do that. We won't, even though us playing this festival doesn't necessarily mean we endorse Amazon, but we're lending our brand and our name to a festival directly promoted and sponsored by Amazon, and we won't do that, which is awesome. And some of the big names that are still on it, I encourage you to tweet them and be like, hey, you guys should follow suit. I tweeted at the Foo Fighters. I'm sure they didn't see it. But I tweeted the Foo Fighters. I was like, hey, will you guys please consider not doing this festival? A lot of artists have said they won't. And I wish you guys would as well. Throw a different show in Vegas that day. It's in early December in Las Vegas. So anyway, a lot of the movement started by Fight for the Future, and Evan Greer has kind of snowballed into other issues pertaining to music festivals and concert attendees and facial recognition software. So it's awesome that Tom Morello helped out with this. It's awesome that Evan Greer and everyone at Fight for the Future is continuing to carry this mantle. They're doing amazing work. They're an organization I'm proud to have collaborated with, and I still have a very positive relationship with them, and I'm sure we'll be doing some things in the future, and I look forward to it. So we'll do some things in the future as we continue to fight for the future. So Rudy, thanks for sharing that. Rudy also says, love the Penguins hat, which, yeah, I do have a Penguins hat that Chaos Agent 11 occasionally borrows from me. And then Rudy shares this. This is kind of funny. Let me see here. Let me go ahead and just bounce over and then throw this there. This is from earlier this week, but this is kind of interesting. So check this out. A Dallas TV station issues an apology for delaying a tornado warning during an NFL game. As a severe weather outbreak unfolded across the south central United States on Sunday night, the Dallas Cowboys and Philadelphia Eagles played a critical football game. According to the article, was it really critical? Critical. This game, first of all, it's regular season. Second of all, even if it wasn't, critical. Is that necessary there? Can we just say like exciting game, fun game? Look, I don't have a problem with people enjoying a sporting event. I'm a big hockey fan. I also like soccer. I also like college basketball. And I went to a WNBA game recently, had a lot of fun there too. Regular NBA, I don't get into as much. I feel like they don't call traveling enough in the NBA, and it just kind of bugs me. I have a hard time getting into the NBA. I know a lot of basketball fans. Some agree with me on that and prefer college like I do. Some don't, and whatever. I'm not equipped to even debate that. It's just my own personal preference. But anyway, critical. Really? Will we call it a critical? I've never. Anyway. All right. So at the same time, the game was playing on the field. A large and destructive EF3 tornado was wreaking havoc across the North Dallas area. And the game was not immediately interrupted. Okay. So here's a lesson, Dallas. Critical should not be used to describe a football game. The word critical should be used to describe when a tornado is happening and people need to do something or they might be in trouble and the media needs to tell them. So there you go. All right. Thank you for sharing that, Rudy. Jenna, we're going to go to Jenna now. So Jenna says this. Jenna says Trump was the scheduled keynote speaker at Shale Insight 2019. That is a gathering of oil and gas industry leaders from Pennsylvania, Ohio, and West Virginia. This happened, I believe, last Wednesday in downtown Pittsburgh. But no slamming Trump about fracking. Oh, wait, they can't. This is Jenna. PA Democrats mostly support fracking, too. That's true. And then Jenna adds, I heard he's Russian. Yeah, so this is in reference to the, and then Jenna shares an article here. So we'll go to it. This is from the Tribune Review, which I know a little bit about the Tribune Review because I'm from Pittsburgh. The Tribune Review is basically Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania's Fox News. It's a far-right newspaper. But PA Democrats slammed Trump on jobs, economy ahead of his Pittsburgh visit. Pennsylvania Democrats used President Trump's visit to Pittsburgh on Wednesday to blast his economic policies, saying their constituents have been left behind. And let's see. Davis cited the July closing of the Riverbend Foods Northside plant. Okay. All right. So they're slamming back against Trump, but as Jenna pointed out, they're not saying anything about fracking. He was there to talk about. He was at a shale. What was the actual name of it again? Here, let me see. I don't remember. Yeah, Shale Insight is what it was called. Now, the shale, for anyone not aware, the shale refers to the Marcellus Shale, which is a huge shale in the western Pennsylvania area. And that's where that's kind of a big part of the entire anti-fracking movement really spawned in Pennsylvania because Josh Fox is from a small town in Pennsylvania. His town was destroyed by fracking, which, inspired him to make Gasland. So Pennsylvania has always been front and center in the fracking / anti-fracking movement. And, when I was in graduate school, I did a media ecology study, which is as nerdy as it sounds, but I did a media ecology study on the local media's relationship to oil and gas and fracking. And what I found back then, and I'd imagine not much has changed, is there are so many environmental violations that happen that go underreported or just not reported at all. I remember in 2011, I tallied a total of 2,800, and virtually none of them got any press whatsoever. A couple did, most didn't. And you kind of look at the economy of the whole situation and it all starts to make sense because, it was up until recently that the Pittsburgh Penguins, sports team I'm a fan of, but they played in an arena called the Consol Energy Center. Range Resources, and I think this is still the case, when you drive into Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on Route 79, there is a sign sponsored by Range Resources against littering. Range Resources, by the way, big frackers, and they have a sign telling you not to litter, which, I always said, I used to have a joke in my act when it was a little more topical where I was like, Range Resources telling you not to litter is like Bill Cosby telling you not to catcall. But so anyway, the oil and gas companies and the frackers have really embedded themselves in the local economy in Pennsylvania. And they have very strong messaging at their disposal. They buy out the local media and they buy favorable press coverage. I mean, there was this thing called the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette did this thing called In the Pipeline. And they had these two 22-year-olds running it, which, and this is not to in any way diminish those reporters. I mean, this is not a bash on them at all. They actually did an amazing job. This is more commentary on how, this is such an important issue. And your media outlet's way of covering it is giving it to these entry-level reporters, giving them virtually no resources whatsoever, and just letting them talk about it. So when this hits the press, you can go, oh, look at them. They care about something. And they treated these kids like they were, high schoolers presenting a project or something. And it's like, oh, this is an issue that pertains to whether or not we have clean water. So, the oil and gas companies really have a strong hold on that region to a beyond disturbing level. And the local media, and, admittedly, I don't follow local media in Pittsburgh that much anymore because I don't live there anymore. But I still do a little bit because I have family there. My parents live there. And they've been largely not all that useful. And a lot of the Democrats are pro-drilling in Pennsylvania. A lot of the Democrats there are not particularly all that progressive. They give good lip service to the unions. Whether that actually help them or not is kind of a question. I remember Pittsburgh had a pro-fracking mayor in Luke Ravenstahl for a long time. Fortunately, Luke Ravenstahl is no longer the mayor. Bill Peduto is, and to my knowledge, Bill Peduto is anti-fracking, and there is still a drilling ban in Pittsburgh. There's a drilling ban in the neighborhood my parents live in, so that's a good thing. But yeah, it's a really big issue all over the country, but especially in Pennsylvania. All right, Dominic Morrow. This article is long. All right, well, we're not going to go through the whole thing then, but you can get through the gist of it. But you can get the gist by reading just a few of the heartbreaking stories. Bernie should use some of the stories when campaigning for Medicare for All. All right, let's take a look at this. Here we go. Oopsies. Hold up. There we go. Ugh. All right, so just this headline alone is pretty sad. When medical debt collectors decide who gets arrested. I hope that's never. I really hope that's never. On the last Tuesday of July, Trey Briggs stepped into the courthouse in Coffeyville, Kansas, for Medical Debt Collection Day, a monthly ritual in this quiet city of 9,000 just over the Oklahoma border. He was one of 90 people who had been summoned, sued by the local hospital or doctors or an ambulance service over unpaid bills. Some wore eye patches and bandages, others limped to their seats by the wood-paneled walls. Biggs, who was 41, had to take a day off of work to be there. He knew from experience that if he didn't show up, he would be put in jail. So basically, because of our for-profit, disastrous healthcare system, people are unable to pay their medical bills. And this place in Canada has a day where they bring these people to court for unpaid medical bills. And if you don't show up, you go to jail. That's the gist of it. I don't think we need to, go into all the nitty-gritty. But yeah, that's horrible. And just another reason why we need Medicare for All and why we needed it yesterday. And that's why if a candidate doesn't support Medicare for All, that's a full stop for me. And yeah, I think that says it all. I mean, what else? Yeah, you're absolutely right. And Bernie should use these stories. I agree with that. I think that when you really get into the nitty-gritty of how this is affecting people in one's backyard, how it's like, okay, these are your neighbors, these are your loved ones, these are people you know. I mean, at this point, pretty much everybody at some point has seen a GoFundMe where somebody is trying to raise money for a surgery that they need to live. And by the way, GoFundMe celebrates this. GoFundMe has a commercial where it's like, hey, use GoFundMe. Maybe grandpa needs a life-saving surgery. I mean, don't you take a second and be like, wait a second, what the? And they're right. GoFundMe's correct in that. That is true. That's what people use GoFundMe for. But isn't it beyond disturbing that we've normalized this? We have normalized this. We're the richest country in the world. We've normalized asking your loved ones and your family for money when you need a life-saving operation. Because we don't have an efficient healthcare system that covers everyone. That's unheard of in other countries. That is beyond unheard of. Do other countries have a perfect system? Of course not. There's no such thing. It doesn't exist. But do people go bankrupt over medical bills? No. No, it doesn't happen. Full stop. Well, there's some problems. Yeah, there's some problems, but that doesn't happen. You know, I saw Billy Bragg a couple years ago, and Billy Bragg is a British singer-songwriter for anyone not in the know. And he just said, he's just like, you know, where I live in England, we're not perfect, but nobody goes bankrupt over medical bills in my country. It does not happen. You need universal health care now. And that was the only political statement he made the entire show. Because it wasn't, you know, it was in Nashville. It was at an Americana music festival. It wasn't the most, I guess, like, you know, like the big lefty Billy Bragg type crowd. There was kind of a little bit of everything going on. But that's like the one big statement Billy made. He was just like, that should never happen. He's like, that does not happen in my country, and it should not happen here. And he's freaking right. So thank you for sharing that, Dominic. Very much appreciated. All right. Last but certainly not least here, Edwin says this. Edwin says, what do you think of Tulsi Gabbard's announcement that she will not seek re-election to Congress in 2020 while fully committing her efforts to her presidential campaign? Well, I just saw that headline this morning, like I guess a lot of us probably did. What's my take on it? I don't understand it. I don't know what she's trying to do. I don't know why she would leave Congress or not seek re-election in Congress. I mean, I guess that's her way of going all in. I don't understand that strategy. I really don't. I mean, usually when Congress members run for office, you know, especially if they're polling in the lower, you know, if they're polling lower, you know, they kind of protect that Congress seat first. I mean, that's what Dennis Kucinich did. That's generally what people do. She seems to be doing the opposite. I don't know why. Strategically, to me, it doesn't make much sense. And, you know, I've had a couple disagreements with her over the past few weeks. You know, getting to Medicare for all. I'm going to wait to reserve a full judgment until I see all the details. But based on everything that I've seen so far, I don't think her approach to Medicare for all is the way to go. I think that we definitely need a ban on duplicative coverage, which both the House bill and the Senate bill does call for. I think that's important. I think her approach to it, while I understand what she's trying to do from a messaging standpoint, I think it just muddies the waters and kind of leaves the door open for bigger problems down the road. So, you know, while I don't think it's I think it is unfair to say she's, quote, against Medicare for all, because that's not true. She's not against Medicare for all. But I do prefer Bernie's approach to hers by a lot based on everything I know so far. And unless there's a big piece that I'm missing, and, you know, again, I'm waiting for a final judgment until I see all the details. But, you know, I have a feeling I'm going to stay that way, where I think Bernie's approach is better than hers as far as Medicare for all is concerned. And I was also very disappointed that she does not support a federal jobs guarantee. That was very disappointing to hear. So, yeah, I don't understand why she's going that way. I mean, maybe she kind of wants to pivot away from electoral politics, depending on what happens over the next couple years. I don't know. I mean, I'm guessing. I have no clue. But I mean, with everything she's been through from 2015 to now, I can't say I'd blame her if she does. So yeah, maybe that's her way of, you know, she kind of wants to go all in, see what happens. You know, I'm still kind of hoping that Bernie picks her as VP. I don't know if he will or if he won't. I don't know. But Yeah, I don't know. Maybe she wants to see what happens in the 2020 campaign, and then if it doesn't, if she doesn't get some kind of a spot, whether it's the VP look or Secretary of State or something like that, which again, I'm hoping that happens. But maybe her thinking is if it doesn't, she wants to pivot out of electoral politics. I don't know. But yeah, I thought that was kind of odd. It's kind of backwards to what most people in that position usually do. And I think that losing her in Congress would certainly not be a good thing. I don't know much about the person who was running against her, but anti-war voices are very, very few and far between. They are very, very few and far between. So the idea of losing one of them in Congress is certainly not a good thing. But, Tulsi must have a reason. I don't know what it is, but Tulsi must have a reason. And if she is going to pivot out of electoral politics, again, I have no idea if that's her plan or not. But I'm just saying, if that's the case, I'm not happy to hear it, but I can't say I'd blame her. So right now, and again, as of the streaming of this morning, she just tweeted it out that she won't be seeking re-election. So, and all I saw was one tweet. I saw one tweet from her and I skimmed it. So, there might be more stuff out there. She might have gone into more detail. I haven't seen it yet. So, keep in mind that's when this is being streamed. And if you're watching it later, all that I've seen as of the recording of this is her tweet saying she's not going to seek re-election. So I guess we'll see what happens. And that covers all the questions. Guys, thank you so much for your patronage. I cannot do this without you. Again, I cannot do this without you. Get Your News On With Ron would not exist without you. It just wouldn't. Thank you for your patronage. Thank you, everybody who contributed articles and questions. Edwin, Dominic, Jenna, Rudy, and Natural Progressive. Thank you guys so much. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Thank you again for your patronage. You make this possible. And Lucy's just been chill this whole time, right? And you know the drill. In the meantime, Lucy says meow. I say peace. Peace.